Hello and welcome to the third regular dev update video for Starship Simulator. I'm joined once more by the ever-headless Clara.
Hi.
We were planning to release this video about 3 weeks ago, but the new Galactic Travel system was still being worked on and we really wanted to do it justice. Plus it also happened to coincide with Christmas and the New Year. And speaking of which, we've added a little festive flair to the ship, as you can see here from the Christmas decorations. And in fact, if I just take a look at the unfinished lounge area, you can see I've added a Christmas tree there as well. And the idea with this is that the player will be able to toggle various holiday-specific decorations for the ship. So, for example, you've got Christmas or Halloween, and it's just something to liven up an otherwise dull deep space journey. Anyway, moving on. In the last video, we took a tour of the solar system, but the warp system itself was very basic and didn't take spatial coordinates into account. This meant the ship wasn't physically moving around space, and that's something we've been fixing over the past few weeks. So today we're going to take a look at the new system for galactic travel, which allows you to travel anywhere in the galaxy with complete freedom of movement. So that means there's no restrictions on where you can travel to, and you can literally travel anywhere from anywhere. So if we take a look at the current location we're at, which is of course Earth out there, and you can see on the orrery map here we have a little indicator for the ship that shows us we're at Earth. And this is still an early version of the map, it needs a lot of refinement yet, but at a basic level it shows us what we need to see. Now if I come across here and just click on Mars, so you can see this is the list of local bodies in our current sensor range. So if I send that to the helm, and then Clara will get that current target on her helm display, and she'll be able to now navigate the ship to Mars. If you could please do that.
On it. Engaging warp.
Thank you. So here we can see the ship's now physically moving through the space of the solar system. And you notice it's moving in steps, and that's because the galaxy as a whole is currently at a resolution of 10 million kilometers. So whilst you're at warp, you're moving in 10 million kilometer steps, which is a limitation we've currently got with Unreal Engine 4. But when we move to Unreal Engine 5, that will be a lot more granular, and you won't notice the steps. So here we are, just arriving at Mars. There we go. And here we are on the map. So if we move further afield, let's go and visit Saturn. And for this one, Claire, can you please set the arrival distance to 50,000 kilometers?
Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much. Just span the map so we can see our target.
And engaging.
So you can see the ship goes quite quickly to begin with, and then slows down as we approach Saturn. And the reason for that is that when the ship's moving at warp, if it was going at its full speed, then you'd zip straight past the target, especially for the inner system planets, and you'd never be able to stop in time. So as we approach our target, the ship slowly slows down. Originally, we did have this based on distance to the central star, but it's now distance to specific target, so that you can leave the system without it feeling like you're dragging the ship through treacle as you're flying away. So I think we're just about to arrive there. I was actually going to demonstrate the fact that there is space between the planets, but I did so much talking, we've arrived already. And there's Saturn, looking awesome as always. Okay, Claire, if you could please just turn the ship to one side and then just warp away in a straight line.
Oops.
Or do a barrel roll, you know, whatever.
I can't drive.
No. I'm gonna eat some Christmas cookies. Nom, 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 nom.
Okay. Engaging warp.
Okey-doke. So you You can see here the ship's now just going to fly off in the direction that we were facing. And that can be any arbitrary direction. It's also important to note that the location of the ship is currently compressed into 2 dimensions. Although we can move fully in 3 dimensions, the display is 2D, so even if we move up or down, it's still displaying 2-dimensionally where the ship is. In fact, if you just fly us up, please, or down, either or, you can see that the ship is tilting there, but still constrained to the 2D plane. And so this will be updated so the solar system will be fully 3-dimensional. And that's also because star systems aren't all in line with the galactic plane. They are arbitrarily any orientation. So we need to take that into account. So if you're flying into a solar system from below, you'll literally see the ship flying up from below. It looks like we're just about to head off into interstellar space. Can you please drop us out of warp a sec, please?
Disengaging.
Thank you. So, as expected, we are literally just in space between planets. It looks like we're quite far from the central star. Where is it? Over there. So we're quite far away from the star, and obviously there are no planets around us because we're in the middle of nowhere. And that also applies between star systems. So if you could take us to warp again, please. Just in the direction we're facing will do. So as we move forward through the system, if I just leave this set at maximum range 40 AU, you'll see that as we pass beyond, we're entering into interstellar space. So we're now in one of the interstellar space cubes. Each cube represents 1 cubic light year of space. And in fact, if I go to the stellar region view, you can see there's Sol behind us, and we're leaving it behind. And we're now literally just flying between the stars. So if you could disengage warp again, please.
Okay.
So just like with the star systems themselves, space exists between the stars. So we're now literally just in interstellar space. There are no stars nearby. There's no light coming from anywhere. And of course, space is just a lot of nothing. But these regions exist for the purpose of including content. So whilst right now it's just an empty space, the procedural algorithm will start to populate that empty space with things to discover. So you could have, say, a distant stranded ship or a spatial anomaly that you have to investigate. The star systems themselves currently have a billion locations in each star system that could be the potential location for a thing for you to interact with. And there are trillions of those throughout the galaxy itself. So there's no shortage of space to include content. And I felt it was important to include the entire galaxy, including the space between the stars, so we can have things like rogue planets and such, rather than just sticking to the star systems themselves. So speaking of the star systems, in fact, if I go to the maximum sensor range, so this is showing the 50 light years around the ship, and you can see that the stars are now showing their correct spectral class and relative scales. The scales are clamped a little bit because otherwise some of these big blue A-class stars here will be absolutely huge on the map. But you get an idea of relative scale. And all of those can of course be scanned and travelled to and investigated. So if we take it back down to say 20 light years, and if we target say that one, these ones I've already scanned, so that one I haven't. So that's this star right here, which I haven't scanned yet. So if I scan that target, you can see that there are 3 lava planets and some a few other bodies there. Now, right now it's showing you quite a lot of information about what's there in that system, but that won't always be the case. So the idea is it will give you a basic display of how many planets there are, and some basic information about them. For example, is it a gas giant? Is it a terrestrial world? It won't give you any more information than that. You'll have to actually travel to that system to discover that information. And in fact, why don't we do exactly that? So if I target, lava systems are always cool. So let's have a look at the lava planet. So Claire, if you could take us there, please. And you'll notice that I've actually targeted that planet directly rather than its central star. So you can warp from planet to planet without having to go via the central star or any other waypoint. You can literally fly in a straight line to wherever it is you want to go. Now you could, if you wanted to, target Sagittarius A star, the center of our galaxy, and fly directly there in a straight line. But once the system's damage and fuel usage is all implemented, you'll have to stop along the way to refuel the ship and repair and do the usual maintenance activities you'd expect to have to perform. So it's not a case that you can't just beeline all the way across the galaxy. You will actually have to do it with a bit of forward planning. Okay, so we're just approaching that system now. We have a look at the helm here. You can see distance counting down. That also shows our galactic coordinates. Again, each one of these digits represents 10 million cubic kilometers. So you'll see that just about to change there. So as we're entering into that system, if we go to the star system button, so there's quite a lot going on in this particular star system. And something I'd like to just highlight here is actually how the planets are laid out throughout the system. I did see some research on the Titius-Bode law for position of planets within our solar system, and then by extension the Blagg formulation. And what that means is that the planets aren't randomly, arbitrarily placed in and around the solar system. The space between those planets is using the Blagg formulation of the Titius-Bode law. So it's following orbital resonance as you'd expect it to for an exoplanet system. So if I just zoom in a bit closer, how close are we? Are we right in the middle? Yeah, oh yeah, we're right there. So there we are at our lava planet. And you can see we're quite close to the central star here, which is why that one's so hot. And you might have noticed the colour bandings on the orrery map as well. So this is the volcanoid zone around the star, where you get extremely hot bodies. The warm zone, the habitable zone, temperate zone, and the frost line beyond. And you'll be able to use this to determine what kind of planets you'd expect to find in those particular regions. Planet E is actually in the habitable zone, but it's sadly not a habitable world. So that, again, the chances of it being a habitable world are obviously increased because it's within the temperate zone, but it's not a guarantee. So it is worth exploring any star system that does have a planet within the habitable zone, just in case. And if we have a look at this on the galactic display here, which one were we at? Oh, that one, of course, the closest one, obviously. You can see here that it actually gives you some information about where the habitable zone exists, and you can use this information to determine on here which one of these may or may not fall within that zone. So the information is given to the player, but the player has to take that final step in just making that determination themselves as to whether or not there is a planet within the habitable zone, and therefore is that star system worth investigating. Because you never know what you might find. So, are there any other planets here of interest? Not particularly. What about this one? Let's have a quick look. No. That one's got a water world. That's what we got here. No. Okay, well, let's have a look at this one then, with the water world. Again, so we're going to fly from this star system directly to that water world. So Claire, if you wouldn't mind please taking us there.
Okay.
So we're now flying away from this star and heading towards this star system here, and specifically that water world within that system. And something else I'd like to point out is that all of this navigation of the ship is taking place using the controls on the ship. At no point have we had to open an external menu or a different tab to do any of these actions, and that's important for everything in the game. So it doesn't matter whether you're interacting with the reactor controls or the electrical system, the engines, the navigation. Everything you do on the ship will take place in the game world on the ship. It will all be physical controls. Which lends itself to VR as well. So it's very awkward to have external menus with VR. So having everything physically interactable on the ship will make that one-to-one relationship with it a lot more stronger. A lot more stronger, that's good English. Yes, immersion. The quest for immersion. Right, how close are we to that one now? So yeah, oh, we're nearly there. So I will just hop back into the star system view. Not quite at 1 AU yet, nearly there.
Slowing down nicely.
Yes. So the travel times are pretty much almost what we'd expect them to be at the moment. It doesn't take much time at all to travel around a solar system, and traveling from star to star again doesn't take an awful long time, but traveling, say, all the way to the center of the galaxy is going to take you, I'd say, a good couple of weeks worth of effort to get there. And I do want to maintain that balance between, you know, the challenge of traveling great distances and balance that with the non-frustrating gameplay of being able to explore a decent number of star systems in one play session. So here we are at that water world, just a distant blue dot, and right now we don't have any target information about that water world, but once this system fleshed out a little bit more, it will tell you a lot more about that particular planet. So you'll be able to scan it when you're up close, and that will tell you things like its atmospheric makeup, the chemical composition of the ground materials, its radius, its temperature, all those things, and most importantly, whether or not this world may or may not have life. And the life could be anything from simple bacterial life all the way up through to spacefaring civilizations that we will be able to interact with. And that's going to be based on the age of the planet itself. It's going to turn the ship a bit just to illuminate us slightly. It's better. I do like it when the sun shines into the bridge. So yeah, so the gameplay of the game, because this is a question we get asked a lot, what is the actual point of this game? And really it's all about discovery and exploration, finding these distant exoplanets, scanning them, finding out what's there, and what you find will define the gameplay experience. So this particular world here, for example, we could send a probe down, return a sample, of, say, the water, or if there's life, we could bring back a sample of that life, perform some science on that sample, and that could lead to further gameplay. Whereas if it's, say, a new mineral, that could be used to enhance the ship in some way. If it's plant life, maybe it's a new food source for the crew. So there are many possibilities as to how we can fold the gameplay into the exploration experience. But the exploration is the first step in the gameplay. It's about getting out there, discovering new interesting things, and then seeing what you can do with those things. I'm personally really looking forward to finding some derelict alien spacecraft to go exploring, ripping out some unknown alien devices and seeing what they do for the ship. Okay, well, I think that was everything I wanted to discuss. Oh no, actually, just looking at the sunlight there, another thing just to point out is that the color of the atmosphere on this particular world is defined by a number of factors: the density of the atmosphere, its chemical makeup, and the spectral class of its local star. So all that information is combined to generate the final coloration of that world as you see it there. And again, with everything in the game, I'm striving to make it as scientifically accurate as possible. So again, with the generation of the star systems, we're using real-world astrophysics to make them as realistic as possible. And then we'll take the age of those systems and then use the age of that system to define what type of life might exist there. So newer systems are less likely to have advanced life, whereas older systems that have been around for billions of years are much more likely to have advanced life, if indeed there is planets supporting life. And that's how the whole system is generally going to function. Oh, Claire's taking us for a joyride, apparently. So yeah, no, I think that really is everything that I wanted to talk about in this video. So I wish you all a happy new year, and as always, I need to extend a special thank you to our Patreon backers, because without their support we just wouldn't be able to put in the hours needed to make this project a reality. And so thanks again, and I will see you in the next video.
Bye.